Hey folks, I wanted to kind of touch base with you guys and kind of go over some of the stuff we have happen at Atlanta this past Tuesday night with the Centerforce TV 200. Um, Had a lot of people giving me some helpful advice, we'll say that, as to their opinions on what should happen to make the racing better, because obviously the racing Tuesday night sucked. I won't sugarcoat it. As the league owner, I will sit there and tell you the racing Tuesday night sucked. When we were green, it was pretty fun, but having a caution come out every 5 laps is kind of ridiculous. And even I saw that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So I kind of wanted to go over with you guys some of the things that has been on my mind the last couple days, and an idea we have in place to make the racing better. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for your emails, your messages, your emails. I haven't gotten, I don't think I've gotten one that was really angry at all. I mean, it was just a lot of constructive criticism, and I might not have been able to answer them all yet, but I have read them, and I appreciate that. Just to let everybody know that there is no animosity towards any of you whatsoever. Had a lot of people apologizing for things that I didn't even know what they were talking about, but we're all square as far as I'm concerned. I'm pretty adamant about leaving all that out there on the racetrack. And Tuesday night, once the checker flag falls, the slate gets wiped clean, in my opinion. It always has. So anyway, Tuesday night we had a lot of emotions flying around on the racetrack. Obviously, frustrations with a lot of different drivers. A lot of people are letting their mind be known, out there on the racetrack, and wanted to kind of touch base with everybody as to people's opinions as to what we should do and what we shouldn't do. I've heard them all, and I always said that I would listen to the drivers. I don't always have to agree with you, but I will listen to you. And obviously, I try to keep what's best for the league first. And want to hit on those right quick. The first thing I heard was there should be a minimum license for all participants, or a minimum safety rating. I did not build the league to have just a select few race it. I built the league for every man to race it. As a matter of fact, I pride myself on that. It is not for a certain elite group. It is for anybody to come and run. If you're fast enough and can make it in, then you're in. I didn't make it to where somebody with only an A license can drive it, or a pro license can drive it. I built it for anybody to come in here and race it. And one of the things that I have told our sponsors and anybody else who's come into the league, the racing tends to make drivers better. I've said for months now, I've watched drivers who last year did not necessarily come in as the greatest, and right now they're got them running in top 5 and top 10. They make mistakes like anyone else, but the good thing about this league is it builds drivers. But I will not call out for a specific safety rating or a license type, and I won't entertain that for any series in oval in at least the foreseeable future. Maybe down the line sometime I will, but that time is not right now. One of the other things I heard was this fast repairs, eliminating them. That was obviously the big key. We brought those in last year when drivers were having issues just staying on track, and they would collect more than one person. And in the end, we'd have 3 or 4 guys racing, and that was it. I thought about that one for quite a while, and we have come to the conclusion here that we will not get rid of the safety repairs for at least a temporary basis. We may get rid of them later on down the line, but not yet. One of the other things I heard was give an EOL to anybody who caused the caution, and how was it? It was anybody who caused the caution and anybody involved in the wreck. I personally race in these events, and I'll tell you right now, even if I didn't race in the events, it is a lot of work to give you an EOL to see who's involved and who's at fault. And on that note, to give an EOL to the person at fault versus giving an EOL to the person who's not at fault, who's right and who's wrong. That I don't have time to sit there and figure that out. Not racing, much less in the race, to have somebody sit there and figure out who's at fault, because somebody's going to wind up upset. If you go into a corner side by side and two cars wreck, well, he came up on me, well, he actually turned down on me, who's right and who's wrong. So we're not going to do that. We do, however, have in place something we believe will maybe alleviate some of the rough driving, that will alleviate somebody going in there making a bonsai move that, quite frankly, they shouldn't be making, or driving over their head, that we feel is the best option to make the racing better. And what we have done is we have built in a driver review council. And what this is, it's a council made up of 5 drivers. These 5 drivers, once the race is over, independently will watch the replay of the race. They have their own saved replay. They will watch a replay of the event. Primarily what they're looking for are cautions. The cautions to see who's at fault, how bad was the wreck, was anybody else involved that was not initially involved in the wreck, and what they will then decide independently are the measures necessary to call for suspension or probations on drivers who go in there and try to dive bomb somebody, or go into a corner, hit the apron, don't lift, and then slide up and hit somebody, something dumb like that. These drivers not only will watch those cautions, but will also watch any specific incident that's called out by a driver. So if you as a driver have a problem with something that happened on lap 26, if you call this out, this will be reviewed, and the council will decide from there the appropriate action. The council, like I said, is made up of 5 drivers. The majority of the votes will be the deciding factor. If there is an incident on lap 5 that brings out the yellow, and it has been decided that that driver, a specific driver, may be at fault, the council will vote independently on the incident, and that driver will be notified via iRacing in advance if there will be a penalty for said incident. So, in other words, what this will be is kind of like a eagle eye watching everybody, every lap, every race. So that way you don't have a driver who maybe has not practiced at the racetrack, maybe bought the racetrack just for qualifying, maybe just didn't have the inclination to actually put in the time to figure it out, how to run the track, and then goes out there and causes somebody else a big issue, and hurts them, systematically speaking, in the points. With that being said, what we think this will do is, like I said, alleviate some of that. For those of you who don't know, and I don't know how you wouldn't know, if you go onto the website and go under schedule, every single setup is there for you to test with. I left it up there. It's been up there since August of last year. It's all right there. The setups will not change, period. They will not change. The only setup I can maybe see changing is Daytona in July, and I'm not even anywhere close to beginning to announce that. So as far as you know, that schedule is concrete. I wanted to hit on something else that we're going to start doing. I know the weather for Atlanta for qualifying was different. I will apologize for that one. I set the weather a specific way. iRacing changed it. It's their call. So be it. I qualified in that weather too. I didn't know it was any different until somebody pointed it out. However, the weather that I did for the race was the same. It was unchanged. So what we are going to do starting this week at Las Vegas, we will maintain the 25-hour qualifying session, or 26-hour qualifying session. The weather will be random. However, there will still be 2 sessions. I do not know what the weather will be. It is whatever iRacing says it is. The sessions will begin at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, Eastern Time, and will end at noon Eastern Time on Tuesday. The weather for Vegas for the race Tuesday night has not been figured out yet. When it does, I will obviously let you know. But that qualifying session will still be 2 different sessions. So that way there's no confusion on this. Let me explain how this works, because apparently it wasn't getting through to some people. Or maybe they didn't read it correctly or whatever, but I'll clarify it now. If you make a qualifying run during the first session, which is going to run from 10 in the morning, Monday morning, to 7 p.m. Monday night, that's session 1. It is not a run your best qualifying time in one session and try again the other. You need to think about this as if it is one continuous 25-hour session. I specifically put 2 sessions in there in case somebody had issues with connections and iRacing glitched up and let their laps count. So that instead of running the straight 25-hour session, if you run one session and a time is recorded, you have ran. You cannot run again and let your time count again, because it will not. I will take your time from the first laps. So if you try to run Monday afternoon and then try to run again Tuesday morning, your time from Monday afternoon is what's going to count. I will not look at your time for Tuesday morning. So that way there's no confusion on that. Your first time is what's going to count. For any clarification purposes on this, I will tell you that I do not see the times. I look at what iRacing tells me who ran. I cannot go back and watch replays of somebody racing and qualifying. I can't do it. I can't see your car. So anytime that iRacing has in the session is what I go off of. The fastest time is what iRacing keeps. That's what I will record. If you wreck and you have a time on the clock, that is your time. If you have no time on the clock, but your name pops up there as if you were in the session, you can run in session number 2. So if you wanted to just come in there and see who's ran what, as long as you don't turn a lap, that is just fine. I've had guys do that for the last 2 weeks, or 3 if you count Daytona. It's totally okay. I don't care. As long as you do not turn a time, you can come back and do it again in the afternoon. It's totally okay. But I did that because people had issues with their sessions not counting, their laps not counting, so I purposefully left that up. As of right now, we're going to keep it for next week at Phoenix. That is subject to change, but I don't think it is going to. The weather for iRacing, like I said, for Las Vegas will be released here soon. I'm not sure what it is just yet, and I'm waiting to get more closer to race day to figure it out. But if you have any questions regarding the Driver Review Council, you can feel free to email me at ovalmanagement1@gmail.com. You can feel free to email me through Facebook or through iRacing. It would be quicker if you did email me through Gmail, but if you can't do that, I understand too. So I hope this clarifies everything for you. We've got some big events coming up. We expect the racing to get better. We expect the drivers to do their part. We're going to do our part to try to keep the racing better. We've got a lot of people coming in here And there's no excuse to not having great racing. There's not. I sit there and tell people that we have the best league around. I'll stand by that. And the only reason it's the best league around is because of you, the drivers. I know for a fact that there have been some long hours put into this league just for this season. And we're going to continue to put it up those long hours with no problem. And if there is a problem on track, then we're going to try to rectify it. However, one thing I will not tolerate, drivers speaking ill of other drivers. It's racing. It happens. I understand it. Talk to yourself. Do not key that mic up and start bashing another driver. I heard too much of that crap Tuesday night. I have issues with people on the track every week, every single week, that I get upset about. 30 seconds later, I'm over it. It's not a big deal. I know there's people who put time in there to race it. I appreciate you putting your time in there to race it, but I guarantee you I will trump every hour that you've had. I will sit there and can keep a log of how many hours I have stayed up working on this league. I promise you there's not enough laps that you've turned to beat my hours. It's impossible. So I would respectfully ask you that if you have something ill to say on somebody, that you keep your mouth shut. If you do not like that, I don't care. With that being said, I hope everybody understands these rules. If you don't understand these rules or you have a question on the Drivers' Council, again, feel free to message me. I will respond. Plan on responding back to everybody who sent me those messages over the last 48 hours. And if you have any questions before Las Vegas, let me know. And we will see you guys out in Vegas.